This brand has dominated the electrolyte space. If you're working in an e-commerce space in marketing, or you're a CEO and you want to learn how to use influencers to grow your sales, I'm going to show you a couple of integrations they've done. I'm going to break them down, and I'm going to hopefully inspire and bring to light some tips and tricks that you could use when sponsoring influencers. The first integration is this one here.
Thank you to Element for sponsoring today's video and my hydration so far throughout this pregnancy. In case you haven't heard of Element, they make a science-backed blend of electrolytes that contains all of the minerals you need without any of the artificial sweeteners, ingredients, or sugars that you don't. I have been loving their lemonade salt flavor. It is a new limited time, I believe, flavor. So if you don't have a chance to get this, I would also recommend the citrus salt or the mango chili in the warmer weather. And they have done an offer for our community where when you shop via my link, they will also send you a sample pack to try all of their flavors for free. So if you happen to grab the lemonade salt, you can also try their other flavors in that sample pack. Go back, figure out what you want for your next order, however you want to do it. All of the info will be in the description box down below. First up,
that was a super smooth integration. She really transitioned that right from the video into the integration right back into the video. So it makes people far less incentivized to skip. But actually, first, let's break it down from a technical perspective. She didn't actually introduce the problem. LMNT, she didn't really introduce what was the problem, what exactly, why do people need this? That's one of the big things she was missing. She just mentioned it helped with her pregnancy. Not really in which way, to be quite honest. So this is a huge part that's missing. If you are prompting a creator to avoid them making the same mistake, inside the creator brief, include a couple of problem statements they can include that relate best with them as a creator. Okay, a lot of the time creators just go blank, they don't know what to do. So when you give them problem statement 1, 2, 3, these are common problems people have when using a product. Creator will fit themselves into it and use it accordingly. It did feel really authentic. I've been loving their lemonade salt flavor. It's limited time, I believe, and this is amazing. Introducing a little bit of urgency. I don't know if they put this in the creator brief, but either way, this is phenomenal. What she didn't do is address doubts. It was a very weak attempt, and it didn't actually proactively address any concerns in general about electrolytes. And this might have killed a lot of conversion. If you're sponsoring an influencer, keep this in mind. So let's break it down. She said they make a science-backed blend of electrolytes that contain all of the materials you need without any of the artificial sweeteners, ingredients, or sugars that you don't, okay? So there's not really much, that might not be a doubt. People might think, okay, that's great, it's giving me the minerals, but what about the side effects? What are the side effects of electrolytes? And sometimes you want to mention, hey, like the main side effects are you feel a bit dehydrated or you feel a little bit full, extra hydrated. And in this case, what you're doing is you're framing something which is technically a side effect in still a positive light. Because most people will want to be hydrated from them even if they feel a little bit full. Specific use case, it's great that she mentioned it was during pregnancy, but she didn't further elaborate on this. And a lot of people might have lost interest here, not related well with this part here. A big problem people make is they don't explain who it's not for, right? Because this will reel in the audience for who it's for. So what she could have said here is, this is for any woman doing fitness, or this is for anyone doing fitness, whether you're pregnant or not. Okay, awesome. It's anyone doing fitness. The people that don't train, they have no interest. But people who do train have a bigger interest. She also didn't mention any downsides, right? Makes it sound too good to be true. If you don't have any downsides in the creator brief, this is a big mistake companies make. They forget to include downside. I know it sounds a little bit silly. Why would I put a downside about my product? But you think about it. If you actually put a downside, people think, oh, this is actually realistic. Superman, one of the heroes. No one could relate with him until they introduced kryptonite. When they introduced kryptonite, that was his weakness, and people started to relate with him because he had a weakness just like everyone else has a weakness. So you want to relate with your audience. What we've done all over here is complied an FDA compliance analysis. We won't be going over that today, but this one seems to be pretty good. A couple things she could have done though is, let's give it a quick look. It doesn't have any disclaimers. So this could be a little bit of an issue. Not saying it will be, but if it's not FDA approved, which it isn't, and if your product also isn't FDA approved, you just want to keep in mind these couple of things. Feel free to take a screenshot. That way you can save it and keep it for reference. Now let's look at this video over here.
Today about today's sponsor, which is Element. Element is a tasty electrolyte drink that has everything you need and nothing you don't. And as you can see, George and I sweat a lot, especially when we work out or run outside. Here in Florida is still very hot, and we need to make sure that we're replenishing all of those electrolytes that we lost through sweat to make sure that we're not experiencing brain fog, fatigue, or even muscle cramps. They have a science-backed electrolyte ratio, and they currently just launched these smaller cans with the same electrolyte ratio. Super yummy. They have new flavors, and my current favorite is the lemonade. Right now, Element is giving my amazing community a free 8 sample pack of their most popular flavors with any order. That is at drinkelement.com/Natalie. And thank you so much to Element for sponsoring today's video. Cheers. How's your workout?
Okay, so this is getting some mixed statements. I think there were some parts of it that could use a little bit of work, as well as some parts that were fantastic. So let's dive into it and break it down. Now, this one, she introduced a little bit of a problem, which is a little bit better. And the problem here would be experiencing brain fog, fatigue, or even muscle cramps. However, it's not really elaborated, so it makes it a kind of a weak statement. Now, to fix this, what you can do is dive into it, elaborate a little bit further into the problem. The second thing is authentic. So let me talk to you about today's sponsor. It's a pretty good opening, but it still sounds a little bit scripted to me. Instead, she could have said, let me tell you about an experience I've been having. And a lot of the time, an influencer will put something generic here. So in our creative brief, we always recommend give them a prompt that they can use, maybe a couple, so they can pick whichever one they feel with best as an opening line, because the opening is the most important. If people skip your opening, they will skip the ad, right? Especially because it's YouTube, it's very easy to skip through it. She didn't address any doubts, not a lot of skepticism. She did include, though, the specific use case, right? The new flavors in her current being lemonade, and different scenarios that she's used in hot weather, and she even mentioned the taste of how the sample pack offer is going to be like. She doesn't include who it's not for and doesn't mention downsides. A repeating theme. So many influencers forget to mention these two, but these two are losing probably 30 to 40% of your conversions, because a lot of people want to confirm it's for them. They want to double check, are there any downsides? It's good to be true. They might have some hidden objections. You want to address these. Best thing to do, put some negatives in the creative brief. Tell your creator, hey, it's fine to say a couple of these things, and just make sure these negative things could actually be interpreted as positive, like I mentioned previously. Overall, decent. Let's try the next one.
And thank our sponsor of this podcast, Element. Hydration isn't just about drinking more water. It's about replacing what you lose. When you sweat from workouts, sauna sessions, or just daily life activities, you're not just losing water, you're losing electrolytes like sodium, potassium, and magnesium. That's why I choose Element as my electrolyte replacement of choice. Element has everything you need and nothing you don't. Their electrolyte formula uses a science-backed electrolyte ratio of sodium, potassium, and magnesium. Electrolytes are used by every cell in your body, and even minimal dehydration can limit cognitive and physical performance. Element tastes great and helps me replenish my electrolytes after a hard workout or sauna. I mix 1 packet of Element, usually my favorite flavor, grapefruit salt, and 32 ounces of water to ensure I stay hydrated throughout the day. If you want to try Element for yourself, head to drinklmnt.com/London and you will receive a free sample pack of all 8 of their most popular flavors with any purchase. That's drinklmnt.com/London. Plus, they offer an unlimited time, no questions asked refund policy. So if you buy it, try it, and don't like it for any reason, they will refund you. Now let's get back to the podcast. So let's review.
Let's break it down. Problem setup. He did start with the problem. In fact, he took a really scientific approach. This is great. I believe he's a doctor. They might have included this in the creative brief and gave him some scientific talking points because he has the authority to talk about it. And what he did, he didn't relate any of this to actual claims, medical claims from the product. This was just in general about science. So what he mentioned was hydration. Hydration isn't about drinking more water. It's about replacing what you lose. So when you sweat from workouts, sauna sessions, you're not just losing water, you're losing electrolytes like sodium, potassium, magnesium. Very important. Make something like this for your creators. Your conversions will go up 2 or 3x. Take a scientific angle, get credible people talking about it, and you're going to notice a lot of people trust it. A lot of people trust them, and this is what pushes them over to buy. These Logical, problem-based introductions are absolutely killer. Authentic tone. He talks about his favorite flavor. A lot of them tend to do this. This is a good way to build authenticity, but to go a step further, you could always have in the creative brief, mention one thing, mention your favorite flavor, mention one thing you liked and where you used it. That's a great little chain that they can talk about and build up a little bit more connection and authenticity. Now, the next is, did he address any doubts? It indirectly addresses some skepticism, but it does lack some detail. He just says Element has everything you need and nothing you don't. So what does that exactly look like? He doesn't elaborate. He could have done that. He might have not known what to say. This again comes back to the creative brief. They might have not briefed them in detail. So in your creative brief, make sure you introduce some points that could be interpreted with skepticism, some talking points like some common objections. So that way the creator knows how to pre-handle these, maybe could even talk about their experience with some of these objections that most people would have. He gives an amazing detailed explanation of his use case right after the sauna, right after a hard workout, exactly how he applies it. Phenomenal. He doesn't explain who it's not for. He doesn't mention the downsides, but he does a great job at mentioning the personal experience, okay? And he doesn't really explain why they give the refund policy. You know, as small as this is, people would think this is too good to be true. So maybe what you can say is, we'll have the refund policy and then give the explanation on why they give the refund policy. Oh, we know the flavor is so good and you'll feel so good that you'll love it, but we do notice some people think it's a bit too sweet. Right? Whatever the case is, even though maybe that's not the case. Then overall, here's a bunch of pointers for the FDA, but none of these seem to be relevant. He did have a lack of explicit disclaimers. That's just one big thing I'd say. But from an FDA standpoint, it seems to be pretty well vetted, so he shouldn't have any problems there.